How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another Premier League review show where me and my brother go head to head in predicting Premier League outcomes. This is the review show. The way the point scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. And it's 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And the scores on the doors at the moment, Sim is leading by 5 points. But we'll get straight into the Arsenal-Nottingham Forest game. Forest against Arsenal. It finished 2-1 to Arsenal on the day. Me and Sim both picked 2-1 to Arsenal. So it wasn't a hard one to guess this one, to be fair. But that makes it 270 to 265. And I thought Arsenal were really dominant throughout the whole game, to be honest. Nottingham Forest hardly had a sniff. Awoniyi came on at half-time and he changed that a little bit. He was a lot more aggressive up against the Arsenal centre-backs, forced them into a mistake late on. And then Forest actually did have a late rally and could have got something right at the end, but it wasn't to be.
It was like a carbon copy of the game earlier this season. I think it was first game of the season for Arsenal. Literally exactly the same. They got went 2-0 up, 2 good goals, deservedly so as well. They were dominant.
2 good goals, just that goalkeeping from Turner, like ooh, that was.
Yeah, you're right. The Jesus one, horrific. He has to be one of the worst keepers in the league.
Well, they've signed 2 goalkeepers this January.
Doesn't surprise me.
That tells you everything you need to know.
When Spurs played them, he also I think made 2 mistakes in that game as well. So he's been gifting goals away. I'm not surprised that Arsenal let him go at the beginning of the season. But yeah, Arsenal definitely, when they did get those goals, were well worth the lead. The second goal, really great counter-attacking goal. But as you say, Forest did make it uncomfortable. But it's 2 wins on the trot for Arsenal off the back of, I think, it was 2 defeats in a row. They really needed to get back to winning ways and add that confidence. And look, going away to a Forest side under Nuno, who are doing all right at the moment, it was never going to be easy. But Forest were definitely at first off were very disappointing in terms of they just offered absolutely nothing. It was very easy for Arsenal. But Arsenal will say, look, they dominated possession. They played very well. Got a big game coming up against Liverpool, so we'll see where they are in that game.
Yeah, in terms of Nottingham Forest, I think the return of Awoniyi is massive for them. He's going to impact so much of their play. He was on such good form before he went out injured, and he's back now, got a goal straight away against the Arsenal side. And in terms of Arsenal, 2 back-to-back wins. I still don't think either performance have been entirely convincing against 2 sides that didn't want to play, to be honest, Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. But you're looking at hard games now coming up for Arsenal. Liverpool at home, West Ham away coming up next after that. In a few weeks, they've got Newcastle away as well. So, look, I think bigger test to come for Arsenal for sure.
For sure. But they're in a good position. Obviously, they're level with City, who have a game in hand. They're still 5 points off Liverpool, though. Forest, only 2 points above the relegation zone now. So really getting a bit precarious for them.
Yeah. Let's move on to Fulham against Everton. Sim went for 1-0 to Everton. I went for 1-1, so I get a point on the board here. I did mention it could be 0-0 this game, and that's exactly what it was. How did you assess this one?
It definitely shouldn't have been 0-0 because both goalkeepers had unbelievable games. There was really good chances at both ends. Pickford making some really amazing saves. But then Everton from the other end, from corner kicks, they were so dangerous, and they'll be kicking themselves. Beto especially had a couple of chances near the end, which he should have buried at least one of them. I think both teams will probably take a point, although I think Everton might be a bit more unhappy with the point than Fulham, even though Fulham are at home against a team near the bottom. I think Everton probably did create some really good chances, and they'll be very disappointed. But it was a really close game. But I don't know how it ended 0-0 because it wasn't one of those games where there was no chances. It was like chances flying in at both ends. So I think fair draw was probably a fair result at the end of the day. But Everton got another clean sheet. I think second 0-0 in a row. But they've now entered, obviously we'll get into Luton in a minute, but Everton have now entered the relegation zone. So for all their good work they did after their points deduction to put themselves in a good position, they're now 5 games without a win and into the relegation zone.
Yeah, their form has slipped, but it's kind of, you don't expect Everton to go out there and win every game, you know what I mean? So you expect form to go up and down throughout the season for a team like Everton. I mean, I do think they'll beat the drop. I think they're better than the teams around them. You're looking at a couple of teams in there, for the likes of Brentford, Nottingham Forest, who I think are going to get sucked into it even more. I think Everton will be all right.
I'm not 100% sure because Luton have really come on. Brentford have got.
I think we have this conversation every year.
I don't know, but Brentford, I think Brentford are going to be more all right than Everton because I think Mbuemo's coming back, Wissa's coming back, Tony's now back, and I think they're looking good recently as well. And they've obviously not been in a relegation battle the last 2 years
Maybe
either.
Forest will be the one.
Forest could definitely be the one, but maybe even Palace can get drawn into it. But I don't know. I think Everton can't count their chickens yet at all. Like they're inside the relegation zone as we speak. So there's got to be a few alarm bells considering they're 5 games out of win. Look, I do think in general that they are better than the other teams, and they probably won't go down. But look, they need to get those results on the board, and they can't be going 5 games without a win.
It's crazy for them because they shouldn't be where they are. They should be obviously they had 10 points deducted, right?
Mm-hmm.
If without
They'll
that
be
10
12.
points deducted, they'll be 12. So that shows the level of the team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be very unfortunate for them if they do go down, but I can't see them going down, to be fair. Moving on to Luton against Brighton. 4-0 battering at Kenilworth Road at the hands of Luton against Brighton. Sim went for 2-1 to Luton. I went for 3-2 to Brighton, and Brighton just got absolutely torn apart. Elijah Adebayo scoring a hat-trick, his first hat-trick in the Premier League, and it was unbelievable stuff. I was watching, I wasn't watching this game, I was watching the other game, and I see the scores coming through. I'm like 1-0 to Luton, 2-0 to Luton, 3-0. I'm like, when is this going to end?
Yeah, it's incredible. And they absolutely bullied them. If you look at the goals they scored, a lot of them were just from physical challenges, balls played into the box, and Brighton couldn't handle it. And I did feel like, Luton is a very small pitch, not a lot of space to play in. They're very compact. I always felt like it was going to be very difficult for Brighton to play the football that they like to play. And also they like teams to come and press them, and Luton, very organised. They like to get the ball forward very direct, very quickly. And Adebayo just caused so much trouble. And Ross Barkley, I thought, was absolutely amazing. I thought he was breaking Brighton's press time and time again, and they just couldn't handle him. And it was a bit of a lesson. And it was unbelievable from Luton. They thoroughly deserved it. It wasn't one of those when you win 4-0 against Brighton barely created too many chances in this game as well. Like, Luton defended so well. They've been so great at home against the better teams, and they showed it again today. And I thought, in midweek, and I thought they were exceptional. And look, they're now outside the relegation zone with a game in hand as well. So who's to say whether they're going to go down at this stage? Because I think they've actually been playing pretty consistently well for a while now, Luton. And you got to give them a lot of credit because everyone wrote them off at the beginning of the season, me included. And they really shut up a few people in terms of their ability to compete at this level, and especially with their home form. When you're beating teams like Brighton 4-0 at home, I think people have got to take notice of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. But you mentioned Ross Barkley there. What a revelation of a signing he's been for Luton. I think week in, week out, he's their best player on the park every single week. I think he's been incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I think this is the best he's ever been. I think this is even better than when he was at Everton, because when he was at Everton, he was a bit of like a mercurial talent. He would come up with special moments, but he wouldn't really be dominant in the game. But right now, he's like, everything goes through him, and he's like completely, fully involved. Like, they're basing the whole team around him, and he's really stepping up, and he's showing, maybe he's finally realizing his potential of what we all thought he could be, because he's been incredible in the last few weeks. Every time I watch him, I'm amazed by him. So I wonder if Luton do go down, if he does get a bit, not a big move, but he does get a move, to a team higher up in the league based on these performances, because he's been amazing. But yeah, Adebayo with a hat-trick as well. He's been in really good goal-scoring form, so he deserves so much credit. And Luton, they're sending out a signal. When you come to Kenilworth Road, you're going to have a difficult game, and they've proved that.
They've given everyone a difficult game that's come there, to be fair.
Just talk about Brighton for a minute. 3 wins in 16 games.
3 wins in September. That's nuts.
16 games, 3 wins.
Yeah.
That's mad.
I think De Zerbi's got a lot to answer for, to be honest. Yeah, I know they've had their injuries and their problems, but what we've always known about Brighton for ages now is, like, no matter the injuries that they have, they usually have the squad or have young players to come in that kind of fill that void for the short term. And they always play their football. They're always good to watch on the eye. And I don't think they have been of late. And with 3 wins since September is nowhere near good enough. And I don't understand how they're like still in the top half.
Shocking. Not just in the top half, they're only 4 points off 6th. So it's still very tight. And they'll definitely fancy their chances of chasing West Ham down. So definitely all is not lost. And they're still in Europa League. So I don't think it's enough to put De Zerbi's job under pressure. But I mean, 3 wins in 16 has to be concerning because for anyone challenging for Europe, that's horrendous form.
Yeah, I agree. But let's move on to Crystal Palace against Sheffield United. 3-2 to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Sim went for 1-1. I went for 2-1 to Palace. So I get another point on the board for this one. And this game was a strange one because I don't think Palace played well at all. It was individual quality that brought them through from Elise and Eze once again. And Sheffield United, Ben Berrington Diaz, 2 goals in 2 games. And brilliant stuff.
Yeah, I think this is a definition of what Palace are, literally relying on Eze and Olise, like their quality. Palace are just nothing without those players, and you can even see the goals. It wasn't like good build-up play and like opening up Sheffield United. It was literally Eze getting the ball from the edge of the box, firing it into the top corner. Olise setting up Eze with an amazing volley, and then Olise on the edge of the box firing in off the post with an incredible goal as well from the edge of the area. So it was literally the Eze and Olise show in this one. Sheffield United was so unlucky not to get anything out of it. Obviously, they did take the lead in the first minute. They did peg Palace back as well to make it 2-2. And they hit the bar with an unbelievable chance right at the end as well. So they'll feel definitely hard done by. But with Palace, it's just the same old story. If it's not Eze and Olise coming up with magic, they struggle. But luckily for them, they were on song in this one and they were incredible. And those 2 talents, man, they're unbelievable. They surely won't be at Palace for too long because they're incredible players.
Yeah.
The fact that Palace are 14th is just a testament to how good those 2 players are.
Yeah, they need both of them in the starting lineup to really get the value out of both. I mean, at least got 2 assists and a goal, and Eze got 2 goals, right?
Yeah, 2, yeah.
Unbelievable
amazing
stuff.
goals, edge of the area, unbelievable goals.
He's incredible. Next up is Aston Villa against Newcastle. 3-1 to Newcastle on the night at Villa Park, and things starting to wobble a bit now for Aston Villa, to be honest. Sim went for 3-1, I went for 2-1, both in the side of Aston Villa. Another impressive display of late for Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, it was their first win in 5 after a run of 4 straight defeats. So really back on form for them. So a really great win. They kept things tight. They didn't allow Villa the space that Villa like in behind. Villa did create a chance in this game, and they definitely at 0-0 were definitely in the game. But Newcastle just took advantage of some lax defending. Obviously, Fabian Schär getting a brace, one from a corner, and the other one a deflected shot from Gordon and fell to Schär's path, who he reacted quickest. And all of a sudden, it's 2-0, and Villa was struggling. Obviously, the own goal makes it 3-0 from Moreno late in the game. But to be fair to Villa, they did get a goal back at 3-1, and they did threaten to get back in the game. They had a goal ruled out from offside and missed a few chances, and maybe if one of them goes in, it's different games.
Kind of just petered out though, didn't it?
It did peter out in the end. But I don't think Villa were terrible, but I just thought they had no answer to when Newcastle scored. And Newcastle, I don't think Newcastle were like free-flowing and played incredible football, but they just made the most of their chances going forward from set pieces, very aggressive, very well organised. It was like a classic away Premier League performance from them. So amazing win. Going to Villa Park, obviously ending their unbeaten record at Villa Park as well, which is very impressive. They needed that win as well, considering the bad form they've been on and all the questions being answered about Eddie Howe at the moment. From Villa's point of view, obviously, with all the talk of them being in the top 4 race and title challenge, there's now 1 win in 5 for them. And there was talk about, would they be able to keep sustaining this form they've been on?
We all said no.
It was after they beat, literally, I think since they beat Villa and since they beat City and Arsenal in consecutive games, that's when it started to wobble a bit. I think since then it's been 1 win in 5. Then they've had poor performances against the likes of Sheffield United. They drew at home, and even Burnley, the 1 win they did have, they were very lucky to win that game.
2-0 up against United as well.
2-0 up against United and losing. So I think maybe they're reverting back to their true level. We'll have to wait. I'm not saying they're out of the top 4 race because they're still very much in it. They're level on points with Spurs and only 3 points behind second place at the moment. So still in a great position. But I did feel like that form was unsustainable for them, given how they play. So we'll have to see whether they can return to that form or if the form is going to continue to slide for them.
Yeah, the worrying signs are definitely there for Aston Villa. But back on Newcastle, though, I say another impressive display. I do feel like things are starting to change for Newcastle a little bit. 2 impressive performances in the Cup, especially away to Fulham. And also they took Man City down to the wire as well in a 3-2 loss. So I do think things are starting to change slightly for Newcastle.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, they're 11 points off 5th. So I think his top seed is 6th their ceiling at the moment, probably.
I think yeah, I think they can get sixth if they go on a good run. But
sixth, they're only 4 points off sixth.
I think anyone that goes on a good run can march their way up the table, to be honest. And I think from the first half of the season that they did have, Europa League football will be a good return for them.
Yeah, they'll probably take that at the moment.
Man City against Burnley. Sim went for 4-0. I went for 3-0. It was 3-1 to Manchester City. Look, my 5-pointer just went out the window in the last 5 minutes with a goal from Burnley from Alderkill. But look, this was a heavily dominant performance from Man City and a well-deserved victory.
Yeah, no surprises in this one. Pretty much went as expected. Julian Alvarez with a great double. Really clever free kick from Kevin De Bruyne as well for the second goal. Really smart, quick thinking to play in behind. There's nothing surprising about this game. You expected Man City to absolutely dominate and take their chances, exactly what they did. One thing I would notice is that Rodri obviously did score a third goal. He seems to have that finish on lockdown, doesn't he? That on the edge of the area, a low finish into the near post. He's scored that a few times now, Rodri. So he's really becoming like a regular goal contributor at the moment. It's incredible. And add on to how much defensive work he does. It's simply astounding. But yeah, I think obviously Burnley at home, you always expecting them to win. Burnley don't even expect anything out of this game, and that's what came. And Man City now 5 points behind Liverpool with a game in hand, so definitely very much in there. Burnley, I mean, time's running out for them because they're now 7 points away from Luton, who are 17th, and Luton have a game in hand.
They're just losing every game at the moment.
Yeah, it's troubling to see where the points are coming from.
It did feel like at one point in the season that they were getting to grips with, they changed things up the way they played a little bit. They started to get a few results, but now it's just reverted back to type, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you play Man City away, these aren't the results you judge them on, but it's just how are they going to make up a 7-point gap? It could even be more, potentially, if Luton win that game in hand. So definitely worrying signs for Burnley and company, whether they can stay.
There is half a season to go, so if they can sort of like muster up some form, I think they can do it, but I just can't see them mustering up the form.
It's going to be very difficult.
That Luton game was the one. I mean, they needed to win that Luton game, and they just couldn't do it. But let's go over to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 3-2 to Tottenham on the night. Sim went for 3-1. I went for 2-0. So another time we share a point each. And it was an interesting game, this, because Brentford were the team on top in the first half. They went into the lead half-time 1-0. Probably should have been more, to be honest. They'll probably be disappointed that they didn't get more than a goal. And Spurs just came out firing in that second half, made a couple of changes, scored 3 goals in the space of 8 minutes in the start of the second half. And that's essentially what won us the game. We came under a bit of pressure after that, and bad mistake in the defence and let Brentford back in the game. And they did have a couple of chances, Brentford, but I think it was literally those first 10 minutes of the second half that won Spurs the game.
Yeah, Brentford seem to have that in this new energy now that Ivan Toney's back. I think he's given them a new lease of life, because before then they were really struggling. I think they lost 5 games in a row, and in terms of, they were very much close games, but I feel like they were lacking that bit in the final third, just that energy, and Toney definitely is bringing that quality for them, and I think he had a brilliant game in this one. But luckily for Spurs, 7 magic minutes in that second half blew Brentford away, and the quality showed. Timo Werner getting an assist, and that's 2 assists in a row now for him in the Premier League, which is fantastic. Richarlison continues his good goal scoring form with 7 goals in his last 7 Premier League games. So Tottenham, even without a lot of key players who are away on international duty, still getting results, which is really, really positive. And hopefully once we get players back, that will only improve, and in a great position now. And looking at that top 5 at the moment, top 4, I mean, I'd say position, I mean, it's kind of breaking off a bit between the top 5 and like 6th and 7th, because right now there's a 7-point gap between 6th and 5th, and then below that it's very, very tight. So I wonder if we're starting to see the table form a bit at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. I've been feeling that way for a few weeks now, to be fair. I felt that the gap is getting bigger and bigger between 5th and 6th, and it's been getting progressively bigger and bigger. And I think that you're looking at the form of Aston Villa, it's dropping off a little bit. So I kind of think like the top 4 now is what the top 4 that you're going to see come the end of the season.
I agree.
Next up was a battering at Anfield against Chelsea, 4-1 to Liverpool. Sim went for 3-2. I went for 4-1. So a big fat 5-pointer coming my way to draw level at 274 to 274. And this was just one-way traffic pretty much for the whole game. Liverpool, I said this last week, that since Klopp has announced his exit, I just feel like this is going to happen at Anfield every single time that they turn out against anyone. It doesn't matter who they turn out. And This was another example of it. It was an absolute battering, wasn't it? And Chelsea had no answer. There was a couple of questionable decisions in terms of penalties that Chelsea could have got, but I don't think that would have changed the course of the game whatsoever, to be honest. Darwin Núñez was so classic Darwin Núñez in this game. 11 goals, 4 times he hit the woodwork, 4 shots on target, and a missed penalty.
Yeah, it was a classic Núñez performance, like all action, but wasn't able to get a goal. He did obviously get an assist late on. It was an absolute battering, though. You're absolutely right. Liverpool, from the start to finish, completely dominant, creating chances at will. Chelsea couldn't contain them. It was so easy for Liverpool. However, I wouldn't say the penalty cases would have changed the game, but the penalties were at 0-0, where Gallagher goes over and very unlucky not to get a penalty there. And then at 3-1, they got a very, very quick attack, and Nkunku goes down. And if they make it 3-2 at that point, maybe it would have made it difficult for Liverpool in the last few minutes or so, because the momentum would have been with Chelsea. I thought it was a penalty, definitely on Nkunku. I thought he was very unlucky not to get that. And if they would have made it 3-2 with 15 minutes to go, who knows what would have happened? Maybe nerves would have kicked in for Liverpool.
I know what would have happened. The gaps would have appeared in the Chelsea defence, and Liverpool would have scored even more goals, in my opinion.
Who knows? Like, goals change games.
Yeah, goals do change games, but there's an inevitability about Liverpool at the moment, especially at Anfield, and I just can't. I don't think those penalties change the course of the game whatsoever. I really don't.
I don't think so. I'm just saying I'm just saying Chelsea will feel a bit aggrieved they didn't get those decisions.
100%.
When they probably should have, especially the Nkunku one. I thought that was a definite penalty.
If you're going to feel aggrieved about the result because of decisions, you've got to play better in the game and not just rely on decisions, penalty decisions like that. Like, Chelsea were horrendous. Let's just get it real.
100%. Liverpool much better. Liverpool incredible, actually. And I actually think I thought first half of the season they were getting good results and playing well, but weren't playing amazing. Like, weren't playing scintillating, struggling a lot of periods. I think ever since, in a weird way, ever since that Arsenal game, I thought.
Ever since Salah's been out.
I thought since that Arsenal game, I thought they did play quite well. They've been literally battering everyone, and they've been playing incredibly well. And we're really seeing Liverpool maybe come to their full form, where they're just so relentless, so intense. And we have to talk about him, Connor Bradley. What a player! I remember a few weeks ago, I think that they played away in the cup or something, and he started. I think it was his first start, and I remember texting my Liverpool supporting friend. I was like, this guy looks pretty good. This Connor Bradley. He's very young, but he's looking all right. But since then, he's gone on from strength to strength. He's now getting regular assists, and against Chelsea, 2 assists and a goal, and really great assists and goals as well. Unbelievable stuff. And maybe this is what they'll do moving forward: start Bradley and move Trent into midfield, because Bradley's been absolutely amazing once he's come in, and looks like he's going to save them a lot of money in terms of getting another fullback in.
Yeah, seems that way. An absolutely top talent, and I think there's a stat as well, like no player of his age, a defender of his age, has got as many assists as him or something, or maybe on par with Trent or something like that. So unbelievable stuff from Connor Bradley, and he's impressing every week.
He really is. He's been incredible, and they're right now 5 points share of the top, so very much in the title race and a good chance of going all the way. Chelsea down in 10th now. They're only 2 points off Wolves in 11th. I don't know what. They've obviously got a cup final. They're still only 5 points away from 6th, so there's still a lot of time to change things around. But things don't seem to be improving that much for Chelsea at the moment.
Yeah, but I do see a lot of parallels to Pochettino's first year at Spurs as well. Got to a cup final, struggled in the first half of the season. It picked up in the second half of the season. A young team. They're not playing well at the moment, and they're not getting results at the moment either. But I keep saying it, and I don't know if I'm just going to end up with egg on my face when Poch gets sacked, but I do think if they stick with him and stick with the plan, things will get better.
It is getting a bit toxic, though, with the Chelsea fans.
Is it?
It is. That's what I've seen. A lot of people are turning on him, or turned already.
Because they're used. What Chelsea are used to, especially under Roman, is instant success. They bring in Ancelotti, they win something. They bring in Mourinho, they win something. They bring in Conte, they win something. Instant success. They're not used to having this whole young squad and going through a process. And I think that's what they need to get used to.
I completely agree.
West Ham against Bournemouth finished 1-1. Both of us went for 2-2 on the night. I was watching a bit of this game. I thought Bournemouth were poor, to be honest. Not as good as they have been pretty much the last couple of weeks. I didn't think West Ham were good either, to be fair.
Yeah, West Ham, especially in the first half, West Ham were very much lackluster. Calvin Phillips coming, an unbelievable error. Right at the start of his debut, 3 minutes in, he passes it straight to Solanke, and all of a sudden it's a 1-0 Bournemouth straight away, and not a great start to your West Ham career for Calvin Phillips. And to be fair, I thought for the whole first half, Bournemouth were the better side. They were unlucky probably not to be 2 or 3 up, I thought, in the first half, because Semenyo missed a good chance. And
I thought they were just huffing and puffing and not really doing much with it.
So look, West Ham are a good defensive team, so it's not going to be easy. But I thought Semenyo had an unbelievable chance to make it 2-0, and they did restrict West Ham quite a lot. But West Ham did switch up in the second half. They do have this tendency to kind of like sit deep in the first half, then have a bit of a go in the second half. And they did that in this game. Obviously, got back into it, a penalty when Kudus goes over and Ward-Prowse buries it. And then I did feel like it could have gone either way right at the end. Both teams having decent opportunities, but I thought draw was probably a fair result on this one. But West Ham will be a bit kicking themselves because it was a really good chance to get a win on the board and maybe keep pace with the top 5. But now it looks like that's slipping away a bit for them. Bournemouth, yeah, good draw for them, I would say.
Yeah, I think on the balance of play, the way West Ham did play, I think Bournemouth will be a bit upset they didn't take all 3 points. But look, they did rally late on and they only conceded a penalty, didn't they? Mohamed Kudus back in the side and back getting hacked down on the pitch once again. But this was the game of the weekend, or the game of the midweek, shall I say. Wolves 3, Manchester United 4. We both went for 2-1 to Wolves. And how wrong were we? I thought this was probably Man United's best performance of the season for the most part. But I don't know what is it with Man United? Like, however well they play sometimes, they just give it away, and they were so close to dropping 2 points in this game. And up steps Kobe Mainoo right at the last minute of the game. What a goal! Takes it past 2 or 3 men and just culls it into the bottom corner. I mean, that was a moment.
Yeah, I think he's been great since he's come into the United team, but I think this game he really announced himself with that goal, because to step up for your team when they in the just after you've conceded 2 goals in the last 10 minutes after leading 3-1 and getting your team 3 points with that kind of goal as well. Absolutely incredible. What a talent this kid is. I think he's been super consistent for United since coming into the side, and I think they've got a real special player on their hands in terms of how he's been playing since coming in at such a young age as well. So composed, and he's clearly got a lot of quality. I didn't know he had that kind of goal in him, and what a goal! What a goal!
Incredible. And you've seen, like, over the years, haven't you, in the history of the Premier League, like these youngsters come through at Man United and have these kind of moments. You remember Januzaj, Makeda, Rashford. For them, let's hope it goes more to the Rashford way. Well, I don't know the way Rashford's playing at the moment, but you really hope for them that this Mainoo actually lives up to the reputation now, because you remember Makeda and Januzaj, how highly thought of they were at the time. And I know Mainoo's different. He's a central midfielder and he's playing unbelievable at the moment. But he needs to kick on from this.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm sure he will, because he's been super consistent. But in terms of the game, I mean, yeah, United were brilliant, I thought, the first half. They should have been about 3 or 4 or 5 up in that first half. Wolves were completely not in it. I think they had 2 goals ruled out for offside as well, but they did end up taking the lead. Rashford obviously silencing the critics with a brilliant goal. He needed that, didn't he, after everything he's been through recently. He needed a good performance, and he obviously got that opening goal. Brilliant. But Wolves, to their credit, never gave up. They made it 2-1, and then it looked like maybe they're going to get back in the game. United then made it 3-1 late on, and you thought that's it, that wraps it up. But then there was 9 minutes added on, and they managed to get it back to 3-3 unbelievably through Kilman, and then Pedro Neto with an unbelievable finish. And then obviously Mainoo wins it. But as you say, with United, this has happened so many times. I remember Copenhagen, they were 3-1 up and they collapsed. They ended up losing 4-3. Galatasaray, I think, again, 3-1 up. And then they got a man sent off and ended up drawing 3-3 or losing 3-2 at home. And then again in the away game, 3-1 up and drawing 3-3. So this is not a new thing for Man United. It is a common theme at the moment. And surely Ten Hag has to take responsibility for that. Yeah.
I completely agree, to be honest. And this tendency, they need to cut it out their game, because they can be a good side, to be honest, when they get things going. But for one reason or another, this season has just been a disaster with the injuries that they've had as well. But maybe with all these players coming back now, they can have a bit of a rally in the second half of the season.
Højlund, 3 goals in 3. We're showing he's showing signs now.
He is showing signs, in my opinion. And I think that I don't think he's been as bad all season as people have been making out. Yeah, he hasn't had Premier League goals, but he's been scoring consistently in the Champions League as well. And when you've been talking about him compared to other players in the Premier League now. You look at him compared to the Arsenal strikers. He's got more goal contributions in all competitions than Jesus, more in the Premier League as well, more than Martinelli. You know, he's mixing it with these kind of players, and he's a young player, 20 years of age. It's his first real season. Last year, he was in and out of the side at Atalanta. It's not like he was playing consistent football. So he's a young player with not that much experience. So I think this is kind of expected as well. And I think things are going well for him.
Yeah, I think right now he's showing, look, it's only 3 goals in 3. There's a bit of form, and it's good for him. It was always going to take a bit of time, especially that big price tag as well. So
he's a good player, though.
He is a good player. I think you can clearly see that on the pitch, that he's very strong, very quick. And as soon as he's got a few goals, I was always threatening to kind of flow that way. So I'm sure he will end the season quite well.
Yeah. And then we're going to move on to the star men. It was a head-to-head, and it's actually going to be the decisive points this week as well, as Sim fell victim once again to Pep Roulette. Bernardo Silva, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 minutes. And I went for Kevin De Bruyne with only 1 assist, which I was actually quite disappointed with at home to Burnley. He did go off with about, 25 minutes to go for Erling Haaland. So I get 2 points on the board this week.
It was a great assist, though.
It was a great assist. This is Kevin De Bruyne we're talking about. So 277 to 275. The comeback is complete. We've overturned the deficit, and we'll see how we go. Another episode coming out for you later on today, which is another episode of Predict the Prem, and we'll see you all soon. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. See you next time.